MAGA is turning on Donald Trump in a way that we have never seen before. They smell the stink of death on him. They understand that Epstein is the beginning of the end for a man who is not only declining himself, but is seeing his support in every facet of MAGA wither away. Whether it's the MAGA media that can no longer defend him, Republicans in Congress turning on him, or his own supporters, Donald Trump is losing it. And he has lost one of his former White House advisors, whose leak of shocking Epstein footage is blowing up this whole scandal. Donald Trump is panicked. We're gonna get into it all. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video. And if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button, because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into this fired advisor who is blowing up Donald Trump's Epstein scandal, I want to start with what Adam Schiff said about the future of new revelations to come and how Republicans in the Senate are moving against Trump as well.
Why didn't Todd Blanche actually bring someone familiar with the case? One of the prosecutors who had handled the case, that would know the facts, that would know when Maxwell was lying, when she was telling the truth. Now, one of those prosecutors was James Comey's daughter, who was fired from the Justice Department. But he brought no one who knew the facts and no one who could press Maxwell, test whether she's telling the truth. That, of course, was deliberate because getting the truth from Maxwell was not the object. Getting an exonerating statement, exonerating testimony for Donald Trump was the object. And, of course, it appears that that resulted in Maxwell being transferred to this, minimum security, concierge service providing institution that is not suitable for sex offenders. So, on the one hand, it raises profound questions about why Blanche wasn't prepared and didn't know the facts. But more than that, it really underscores what Amanda said, and that is we need a real investigation here. If they didn't have the emails from the estate, it's because Kash Patel didn't ask for them, didn't subpoena them, didn't want them. I think we see in these emails that are now dribbling out just why Bondi and Patel don't want to release what they already have and don't want to do the thorough investigation that was apparently never done by the government.
I have so many questions for you about this trove of emails, which I'm sure you haven't read all 23,000 pages. But I know we're living in a time where what the consequences that should happen don't always happen. We obviously can't unwind and go back in time and have Todd Blanche bring someone with him. As you said, he didn't intend to do that clearly. Ghislaine Maxwell, as you said, was transferred to a more minimum security prison where she's apparently playing with puppies and taking yoga classes. What should happen? You said an investigation should happen. In normal times, obviously, she should be transferred back, right? What else should happen given these revelations from these emails that she seemed to have lied multiple times?
Well, we should be doing oversight in Congress. Republicans should be helping to do that oversight to find out who made the decision to transfer her to this, sort of cushy prison. Who made that call? When I asked Kash Patel about it in the Judiciary Committee, he claimed that it was the Bureau of Prisons, and the Bureau of Prisons made that decision on their own. He knew nothing about it. The Justice Department wasn't involved somehow. That was the import of his testimony. That just doesn't pass the credibility test. So, number one, we need to do oversight in Congress. But number two, the Justice Department needs to do a real investigation. They need to release publicly what they have. These emails have already shed, I think, some significant light. I was really struck by something Donald Trump said over the summer when he acknowledged having a falling out with Epstein because Epstein was taking girls from Mar-a-Lago. And I remember asking myself, what did he think Epstein was doing with those girls? And now we see one of those emails that just came out makes reference to this when Epstein, I think, is telling Maxwell or telling someone else in those emails, well, of course he knew. That's why there was essentially this dispute over taking girls from Donald Trump or from Mar-a-Lago. So these emails are already shedding light. The White House is engaged in its usual sort of blitzkrieg of denials.
Things could not be going much worse for Donald Trump. And as I continue to say, what isn't in the Epstein files might be more damaging to Donald Trump than what is in the Epstein files. And what I mean by that is new testimony that'll come out from survivors. Those in Donald Trump's previous administration who might go on the record with things that they never put in an email, things they never said out loud, yet new photos, new videos, All of that came out and continues to since Pam Bondi announced the Epstein files were closed. And now, it's opening all back up again. And something else that is the ties between Trump's supporters, his closest advisors, and Jeffrey Epstein. And one of them with Steve Bannon is causing the most problems of them all. And we can see that this article right here. Epstein emails spark interest in Steve Bannon's lost image-changing Epstein interview. Newly released emails linked to the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump's former chief strategist Steve Bannon are reviving questions and scrutiny about the unreleased hours of image-changing footage he reported to have shot with the disgraced financier shortly after his 2019 arrest. On Wednesday, the House Oversight Committee's Democrats published a database of messages to and from Epstein, who died in federal custody in 2019. The trove includes multiple references to Bannon and several direct exchanges between the two, revealing a relationship more active than previously documented. Republicans followed suit by also releasing a tranche of documents, many of which included unflattering descriptions of Trump. One July 2018 email published in Politico shows Epstein pitching Bannon on overseas access. "There are many leaders of countries we can organize for you to have one-on-ones," he wrote. The following month, Epstein again urged him to come to Europe. Bannon replied with a striking warning, "Yes, but let's discuss. This is a crazed jihad against you. I've never seen anything like it." In another message, he added, "Somebody big has you in the gun." Cites in the emails. Epstein even weighed in on the 2018 confirmation hearings for Associate Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh, advising Bannon to challenge the credibility of Christine Blasey Ford, the woman who testified against Kavanaugh for sexual assault, suggesting that she could be accused of taking medication that causes memory loss. The messages reignited curiosity about Bannon's self, reported 12 to 15 hours of recorded conversation with Epstein earlier this summer. The Hollywood Reporter described the 2019 project as seemingly designed to get Epstein ready for an image-changing sit-down interview with a news outlet like 60 Minutes. With Bannon playing the part of Mike Wallace in July while live on Real America's Voice. Bannon promised to release the footage in early 2026. Calls for him to do so were already loud, and notably included right-wing commentators. This summer, Roger Stone, Ben Shapiro, and Benny Johnson all publicly questioned why Bannon is continuing to hold on to the tapes. So there are a couple of pieces of this that are really key. The first is that Bannon was saying that Epstein was in the gun sights. I think that's a very important word to keep in mind when we are talking about the fact that I don't think nearly enough people are talking about the fact that Donald Trump might have been the person who killed Jeffrey Epstein. I just don't feel like that's being brought up enough. But why was Bannon, who was fired from the White House in 2017, who is still incredibly close to Donald Trump, trying to rehabilitate the image of Jeffrey Epstein? Why was he working so closely with him? We know that many of the people who helped Epstein get off or were close in his circle were also close with Donald Trump. But why was Bannon tasked after leaving the White House seemingly with going to work with Epstein? Right after, within a year, they were talking again. What is that about? What is the reason for that? Why could Bannon possibly want to work with Epstein other than to maybe help out his buddy Donald? And why did he know that Epstein was in the gun sights? What was that about? We're not being ridiculous in asking these questions. I think they're super standard and could be easily explained with maybe releasing the files. And considering that Donald Trump's entire presidency so far has been dedicated to going after his political opponents, instructing Pam Bondi in the form of Truth Social post to go after James Comey, Letitia James, Adam Schiff. Why is it that Donald Trump wouldn't sick his goons on someone like Jeffrey Epstein while he was in his first term? That Donald Trump wouldn't weaponize the US government to have that person silenced? I don't feel like we're talking about that enough. Donald Trump's whole administration has been about weaponizing the government to go after his enemies. He's doing it very publicly, trying to smear them knowing that he has no evidence. But what could Donald Trump have done privately? What could he have had the government do privately? If he's doing all of this publicly, what's happening behind the scenes? What happened behind the scenes? I don't feel like that question is being asked nearly enough, especially in the wake of Donald Trump coming after another political opponent, someone who was so loud and saying not just to Trump or to Mike Johnson or to Republicans in Congress, but their staffers as well, all complicit in this cover-up. Keep your emails and lawyer up because, come a Democratic majority in 2026, 2027, there is going to be investigation. There is going to be accountability. That was Eric Swalwell. And when he started talking in those terms, not just the release, the Epstein files, not just that we need to know what happened, but lawyer up. Buddy, when he started talking like that, what did Donald Trump do? He went after him, and Eric Swalwell is responding.
We are going to win the majority. And that's what we learned last Tuesday when California voters stood up against Donald Trump. And when we're in the majority, we will have subpoena power and accountability will happen. So Bill Pulte and any other lawless official who is carrying out these political prosecutions on behalf of Donald Trump, they should familiarize themselves with the Judiciary Committee room because they're going to be spending a lot of time there answering questions. And I sure hope everything they did was above board.
Congressman, even as you talk about the House of Representatives, there's new reporting today from our colleagues at MSNBC that you are eyeing a run for governor of California. Does the timing of the president's legal actions against you change your thinking? And do you believe he is more concerned about you as a sitting member of Congress or as a candidate for governor of California?
Well, no news on running for governor. I think we have enough news for one day for me. And no, I'm not going to change a single thing about what I do to stand up against Donald Trump when he gets in the way of me fighting for Californians. And look, California is the greatest country in the world. Its next governor has to be excellent. That person has to be a fighter and a protector. But I'm telling you right now, I am not going to shrink one bit because of Donald Trump trying to intimidate me.
I don't think that all these pieces of the puzzle are all that distant or difficult to put together. I think it's all pretty simple. And I think the weaponization of the government against Trump's opponents really needs to be considered in the context of Epstein. We're going to keep asking those questions on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around at the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let him silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.